If you're moving to Phoenix in 2026, how in the world do you decide which area is right for you? 5 years ago, I was sitting exactly where you are now, trying to figure out where I was going to be happy. And then I realized that most of the advice I was getting ignored the one thing that decides whether you'll love the place you choose or end up miserable and wishing you'd picked somewhere else. In this video, I'm going to show you what that thing is and the 5 areas that I would choose if I had to do it all over again. So what is it that determines whether or not you'll really enjoy where you live? Let me show you an example. So this is one of those one-size-fits-all hats that has the stretchy back. I used to buy these all the time, but I stopped because I have I don't want to say freakishly large, so let's just call it bigger than average, head. And because of that, these hats would squeeze my head like a vice, and after an hour, I'd end up with a nasty headache. Finally, I realized what I really needed was one of these, a fitted hat, one that has been measured and cut to fit my exact head size. And once I made the switch, I never got another hat headache. Clever, I know. Most of the advice you get on where to live is just like this stretchy hat. It's generic and not made just for you. That's why so many people end up in an area that they don't like. If you're coming here to retire, you probably don't want to live in a neighborhood that feels like you live at a Chuck E. Cheese with kids running around and screaming all the time. And if you want to make a lot of friends and connect with your neighbors, then a sprawling country estate just isn't the place to do that. When you're choosing where to live, it needs to be like this fitted hat and tailored to you specifically. I've helped hundreds of people relocate to Phoenix and have noticed that everyone's ideal lifestyle falls into a handful of patterns. But the 3 most common I see are family-friendly areas, quiet country living, and walkable urban locations. We're going to take a look at how each of the places that I would choose if I moved here again will fit into those lifestyles. And I'll share a few stories of clients who bought in these areas so that you can see what it actually feels like to live there. This first one was a place that we thought very hard about moving to because it offered almost everything we wanted. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the Phoenix metro, and that is Peoria. And the area that I would focus on specifically is the north part of town. So who is going to enjoy living in Peoria? Well, this is a big one for the family-friendly crowd, which is why my wife and I were drawn to it. One of my favorite communities in the entire state is in North Peoria, and that's Vistancia. This place has everything from resort-style pools, big clubhouses with fitness centers, parks and playgrounds, trails everywhere with amazing views of the valley, plus a golf course. And you're less than 20 minutes away from Lake Pleasant. The HOA also organizes events for the residents who live in the community, which is a great way to meet people. Then there's the brand new community of Saddleback Heights, set to open in the spring of 2026, which is located just to the north of Vistancia. This place is going to be incredible. You're going to have jaw-dropping views like this, and you'll be even closer to Lake Pleasant. People are really excited about this place because one of the valley's premier luxury builders, Camelot Homes, will be putting houses like these on 19 lots in the first phase of development. This area of North Peoria is also about an hour closer than a lot of the Phoenix metro to popular getaways in the northern part of Arizona like Sedona, Flagstaff, and the Grand Canyon when you're ready for a little break from the summer heat. But what if you'd prefer the peace and quiet of country living rather than being in one of these communities with kids roaming everywhere and rowdy backyard barbecues? Well, North Peoria has some good options for you, but some of the other places we're going to talk about are probably better fits for that. If you want quieter nights, more open sky, and homes where your nearest neighbor isn't 5 feet away, there are options, but they're a little bit more limited out here. And if you love being able to walk to coffee shops, restaurants, or entertainment, North Peoria won't check that box either, at least not yet. Right now, a lot of this area is still undeveloped, and shopping and dining is going to be a little bit of a drive to get to some of the better options. So this isn't a great fit for people looking for the urban lifestyle. Now, what if you don't fit neatly into one of those 3 categories? Well, my client Rod was kind of a blend of all 3. He wanted a quieter neighborhood, but also a place where he could socialize with his neighbors, but not be miles away from entertainment. He came here from Oregon just like I did, and while he was looking at areas from afar, he thought that the community of Sterling Grove and Surprise would be a really good match. When we toured the neighborhood, he and his wife loved the homes and all the social events that the HOA organized, but he said something just felt off about the place. And what we finally realized is that they love to go on short hikes every morning, and Surprise is located out in the flat of the West Valley and isn't a great hiking destination. So I took them over to Vistancia, and they instantly knew that that was the right place. It had all the same benefits as the other community, but miles and miles of trails through the hills that would give them countless options for their morning hikes. And when I last checked on him, he said they're still loving the area. Now you might be wondering why I didn't buy in North Peoria if we liked it so much. Well, really it came down to the the fact that we just felt like the East Valley of Phoenix fit us a little better. And this next place is where just about everybody who lives over there wants to be. If you've ever looked up one of those best places to live lists, this town is always on it. And for good reason. It's one of the few places in the valley that appeals to all three lifestyles. So what is this magical place? That would be the town of Gilbert, which is another place that my family loved. We tried to buy 2 different homes in Gilbert, but because we moved in the home buying frenzy of 2021, we ended up getting outbid on both places. But that shows how many people want to be there. Just like in North Peoria, the best match for Gilbert is going to be anyone looking for a family-friendly vibe. The place just fits that lifestyle so perfectly. Gilbert is extremely safe, has an excellent school system, there are tons of parks that your kids could spend countless hours at and never get bored, and there just seems to be an endless amount of entertainment choices for parents as well as their kids. Gilbert also has great communities that are very similar to Vistancia over in North Peoria. Some of my favorites are Agritopia, Morrison Ranch, Seville, and Power Ranch, which is the neighborhood that we tried to buy in. And if you aren't looking for the suburban lifestyle and prefer some acreage out in the country, you can still find that around pockets of Gilbert. These are some of the best mini farm properties in the entire state. Most are going to be irrigated, and nearly all of them will allow you to have horses too. And you'll still be just a few minutes away from all the commercial centers, so these places do tend to get snatched up pretty fast when they hit the market. But what makes Gilbert so in demand is its ability to please so many different types of people, including the folks who are looking for more of an urban setting. Even though Gilbert is known for being the poster child of suburbia, it actually has 2 pockets that surprise people with how walkable they are. The first is Agritopia, which boasts the massive epicenter complex that features some of the most popular restaurants and coffee shops in all of Phoenix. They also have retail stores, fitness studios, and just about everything you could ever want. The other one is downtown Gilbert. This is an extremely popular area that has tons of places to eat, a performing arts theater, and a weekly farmers market that is one of the best in Arizona. But if Gilbert is so great, why doesn't everybody live there? Well, the biggest reason is simple. Gilbert is basically built out. So if you want a brand new home, your options here are pretty limited. In fact, my client Nick, who came here from Michigan, fell in love with a popular neighborhood called The Bridges. He and his family liked that area because it was right next to Gilbert Regional Park, and he loved the idea of meeting people at all the events that they do over there. But what he realized as we looked at the homes in the neighborhood was that he just didn't love the layouts or the features since they were mostly built about 20 years ago. He wanted more modern floor plans and updated finishes, but he didn't want to give up living in a place where he could connect with other people. So I took him over to the next place that I would buy a home in if I was moving here again, and he was able to get the brand new house that he wanted in a community where they've met their neighbors, joined a few clubs, and their kids have made a ton of friends too. And he feels like it's been the perfect choice. This is yet another one that you've probably read about, and that's the town of Queen Creek. If the idea of getting to pick out a floor plan and all the interior finishes of a house to put your own touch on it appeals to you, then this place is a really great fit. Queen Creek has a ton of new home communities, including the neighborhood that Nick and his family bought in, Barney Farms. This was another place that I almost bought a house in, but back then it took 18 months to build, and we didn't want to wait that long. So who's a good fit for Queen Creek? Well, it's one of the top destinations for out-of-state movers who want a new home without giving up that tight-knit small-town feel. You can almost think of this place as being Gilbert's younger brother. For the family-friendly crowd, this is another excellent choice. It's going to be almost a mirror image of what Gilbert offers. If you're looking for country living, and not just bigger lots, but true rural charm, Queen Creek is arguably the best town in the Phoenix metro. You can still find a lot of acreage properties, and most of these are going to be irrigated and allow horses. And since it's a little farther out from all the development around Gilbert, you get a little bit more peace and quiet out here. Queen Creek still has deep agricultural roots, and people really celebrate that. One of the biggest attractions here is Schnepp Farms. This is still a working farm, but it's open to the public. You can actually go pick your own veggies, visit the bakery and farm store for all kinds of delicious food, and show up for one of their big events and festivals. Across the street is the Queen Creek Olive Mill, where you can pick up all kinds of products and food made from the olives grown on site in the huge grove of olive trees. They'll even give you a tour to show you how they make olive oil, plus you can get some great food and often enjoy live music at the restaurant. You can even catch rodeos and equestrian events over at Horseshoe Park, and there really isn't anywhere else in the Phoenix metro that gives you the feeling of living in the country better than Queen Creek. But as good as this place is for families and people wanting a more rural feel, it's not going to be a good fit for anyone prioritizing walkability and a more urban lifestyle. This happened with my client Carolina, who was drawn to Queen Creek because she wanted a safe place for her kids to grow up. But when she and her family visited from Washington, they didn't like it. They were used to having more shopping and entertainment close by, and they didn't feel like Queen Creek offered enough of that. She also wanted a place with a really nice view, and that can be a little tough to find in Queen Creek too. After we did some more digging on what would make her and her family happy, I knew exactly where to take them. This is actually really common. Most of my clients start out looking in one area, but once we dig deeper into their lifestyle and their priorities, we end up finding them a place that fits them even better. My team and I spend a lot of time understanding the lifestyle you want and what will actually make you happy once you're here. And then we match you to areas that fit that perfectly. So if you're feeling the same way and you're unsure which area will actually fit, I put a link in the description where you can learn about working with me and my team. And we can help you just like we helped Carolina's family, where we found them that perfect neighborhood and even that great view. So where did she end up and why was it a better fit? You have to head all the way to the northern part of Phoenix, right next door to Scottsdale, where you'll find the community of Desert Ridge. This area wasn't even on my radar when I first came to Phoenix, but now that I've seen it, I would definitely consider moving there. If you're someone who wants a healthy blend of family-friendly with an urban twist, this is the best fit in the valley. This is another spot with those big resort-style communities where you'll have all the amenities you could ever want. The neighborhood is very safe, and again, you'll have tons of schools to choose from too. But you'll also be minutes away from the Desert Ridge Marketplace, which is one of the most popular outdoor shopping centers in Phoenix. The place is massive and has just about every store, restaurant, and entertainment option that you could want, and it seems like they're always adding something to it. And while it's not fully walkable in the way that downtown Gilbert or Scottsdale are, you're much closer to that kind of lifestyle here. When you live in Desert Ridge, you're also going to be really close to a ton of outdoor destinations like Pinnacle Peak and the McDowell Sonoran Preserve for those days when you just need a little bit of fresh air. But how does this area fit anyone who wants the country lifestyle? Well, it doesn't. Desert Ridge isn't going to offer anything other than your smaller, typical suburban lot in densely built communities. The nearest place that actually feels like living in the country is 15 to 20 minutes north in Cave Creek. So if country living is what you're after, cross Desert Ridge off your list. But don't worry, I've got a surprisingly great option up next for people who want that. Now, this might be the last place in the Phoenix Metro that you think of when it comes to country living, but there are some great properties here that come with acreage and some incredible views of the mountain and the desert landscape. You can even have horses on a lot of these too. So what city are we talking about? Believe it or not, it's Scottsdale. If you've ever visited the Phoenix Metro before, there's a good chance that you've stayed at one of the many resorts in Scottsdale, which is what pretty much everyone pictures about the place. But a lot of people don't realize how big the city actually is. It's about 31 miles from the southern end all the way to the north, and that is where you'll find the majority of the acreage properties. And if you want those bigger places, mainly just to store your toys like boats or ATVs, then you can actually find large lots and homes without an HOA in the more central part of Scottsdale. But the best fit is anyone who is seeking the urban lifestyle. Scottsdale is about the only place on this list that has any kind of nightlife that doesn't shut down at 11, and it has some of the best food, shopping, and entertainment of any place in Arizona. If you want walkable neighborhoods, your best bet is to try to stay close to Old Town, Fashion Square, or Kierland Commons. But the great thing about Scottsdale is that there are a ton of neighborhood eateries tucked into all kinds of places. So really, no matter where you end up, there should be some good options nearby. Scottsdale is also a premier destination for golf and hosts the Rowdy Phoenix Open in February. Car lovers can go check out the Barrett-Jackson auction to see some of the most valuable collector cars in the world. There really isn't a better choice for entertainment and upscale living than what you find in Scottsdale. But how does this city measure up for those wanting the family-friendly vibe? Well, it's not a bad choice for families, but it's definitely the weakest one on the list. For me, I love heading up with my kids to places like the McCormick-Stillman Railroad Park, the Odyssey Aquarium, or even catching a dinner at Medieval Times. But Scottsdale just isn't a place I would ever consider living in with my kids. You just don't find as many neighborhoods where people are connecting with each other and spending time together, because a ton of houses in Scottsdale have been converted into Airbnbs, which has wrecked the community vibe in some areas. But for those without kids or anyone who wants maximum entertainment, you cannot go wrong with Scottsdale. All these places are incredible areas to live and are full of happy residents, but they all have one big downside: price. These are some of the most expensive areas in Metro Phoenix, but there are still some amazing neighborhoods that are going to give you a lot of the same benefits as these places at a much lower price. So you should watch this video next, where I'll go through what I think are 5 of the best zip codes to buy a home in the Phoenix Metro.